Hello everybody, Joe here with Garden of Luma. This is part 2 of my summer backyard tour of 2020. So this is a continuation of the first video that I just did. If you didn't get a chance to see that, I will link down below so you can check that out. Here is my Sprite Delight Cherry Plum, and I recently did a video here harvesting all the fruit off of it. I just pruned it back there. You can see it's about 10 foot tall now. Try to keep all my trees around 10 to 12 feet high. And back behind it is my early grand peach tree. Had a huge harvest of peaches this year. Highly recommend a peach tree if you don't have one here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. It's a great fruit tree to grow. You get a ton of fruit off of it. Just want to make sure you get the right varieties, the lower chill varieties. Okay, here is one of my Canistel seedlings. And this one here is in a container, a 15-gallon container, growing really well here. And this was grown from seed. Probably a couple years old now. Next to it here is my Cara navel orange. This is filled out really good here. I have yet to get any oranges off of this tree. I planted this in winter of 2016 as a 15-gallon tree. This year I had a lot of small oranges started out on it and they all ended up dropping. I thought this would be the year that I'd actually have a few oranges on it, but I guess I'll wait till next year. Next to it is my Meyer lemon, growing in a container, and it's pretty scraggly looking, as you can see. Tends to get a little beat up in the winter and drop its leaves. Well, you can see on here some of the lemons. Say I have about 10 to 15 lemons on this tree right now. Okay, tucked back here is my Kerry mango, growing in a 25-gallon container. See one of the mangoes down there. Has, I believe, 5 mangoes on it. There's one there. Next to it is my sugar apple tree. And you can see flowers on it. This has been flowering for probably the last month and a half, maybe. And it did flower a lot later than usual. My Adamoyas started flowering in March like they typically do. This one was a lot later for whatever reason. And I was really diligent about hand pollinating the Adamoyas, but haven't been so much with the sugar apple. So I haven't really seen any fruit set yet. My Desert King watermelons, you can see a few here. And these vines have just gone crazy, just everywhere, as you can see. That is the only thing I have growing in this raised bed up front here. And sorry, it's kind of tough to get back in here, but you can see again my Kerry there. You can see the sugar apple. And then here is an Adamoya seedling that is in the ground, doing really, really well. Well, this year I did not protect this tree from the cold, so it can take cold here to some extent. It did get a little beat up, and I showed you guys a video of that. So I did have to trim it back a bit from the cold damage, but I've found that once these get established, they're about as hardy as guavas are here. So you don't really need to protect them. I'm in a colder part of town. This was in the middle of the yard. I had a Barbados cherry here, a young Barbados cherry that died from the cold. So it is a colder spot. But you don't have to protect these once they're established. They'll get a little beat up. You may have to trim the outer third of the tree, but other than that, they'll just bounce back once we warm up. Here is my tomato jungle here. Still going strong. You can see a lot of tomatoes in there. I've just continued to harvest tons and tons of tomatoes. I did Early Girl, Juliet, and Yellow Pear this year. You can see my watermelons are growing right into this. I noticed the other day, I looked underneath there when I was watering the tomatoes, and there's a huge watermelon growing in the center of my tomatoes. There is my Sherwood jujube tree, and this has gotten quite large. It's probably about 15 feet tall right now. I try to cut this back in the winter, but it just wants to grow tall. So it makes it kind of difficult to harvest the fruit because it is like an upright grower. You can see it doesn't really get too bushy. It's more just tall. And so a lot of the fruit grows up high here. And I have to get to that with a ladder, which is unfortunate, but oh well. Here is my Parfianca pomegranate. You can see I have all the fruit bagged up this year to protect from the leaf-footed bugs. Here is my cluster of figs here. This up front is the Black Mission, which is the largest of the four. You can see I have it in like a 30-gallon tub here. It has tons of figs on it, but I haven't seen a ripe one yet. See some of them there. And it's kind of hard to see because they're all wedged in here together, but I'll come around back. You can kind of see some of the other ones. This one here, you can see is Peter's honey fig. And this cutting, you can see down below there, was started last year. It's already fruiting. This one up front is a Canandria fig, and this is my newest cutting that I started this year. I have a Violet de Bordeaux here, which also has fruit and was a cutting from last year as well. Wedged down in here is another new addition. This is a Tango Mandarin tree. And the fig trees give it that afternoon shade that it needs while it's young to push through our summer, scorching summer. Tucked here behind the trampoline in this hot corner, west-facing corner, is my Barbados cherry tree. And this, if you followed any of my videos, was growing in a container for quite a while. This year I finally decided to put it in the ground. And I think it'll do well here in this hot corner and stay protected enough in the winter to get by without any protection. So it's been flowering quite a bit. I haven't really noticed any fruit set yet though. Forgot to show you this. This is my other Violet de Bordeaux here in a pot. Again, a cutting started from last year. Here is my dwarf everbearing mulberry tree. Had just a ton of mulberries on this for a long period of time this year. Highly productive tree, excellent tasting fruit. Next to it is my Peruvian white guava. And this thing is just absolutely loaded with guavas. You can see as I get up closer to it, just tons and tons of guavas. These will start ripening next month in August. Next to it in a container, again, you can see the chair to protect this from the winds, is my Barbie pink guava. Also has quite a bit of fruit on it, so you can see guavas do really well in a container. You can get a good amount of fruit set on them in a container. Alright, this is my Jamaican cherry tree, and this has bounced back quite well. I did a video on this earlier this year about pruning it. I heavily pruned this guy back. I've been growing this in a container for 4 years now. You can see fruit setting everywhere, as well as flowers. So just fruits continuously all summer long, all throughout the warm months. And it's a really tasty berry. Okay, here is my other Adamoya grown from seed. African Pride variety. And this one is growing in a container. And I want to show you guys on the back side of it that I do have one fruit on it. So hopefully that'll make it through. Last year I had 5 sugar apples that set fruit. They got to be about the size of a quarter, then they turned black and dropped off in the middle of our summer. So I'm not sure. This is my first Adamoya that I've had set. So hopefully it gets through the summer. Okay, here is my Itamaraca mango. This mango tree was grown from seed back in 2016, fruiting for the first time. You can see all the mangoes hanging here. Gonna have a decent crop of mangoes. Cannot wait to try these. These are a smaller variety of mangoes grown from Brazil. There isn't a ton of information about this variety. A grower in Florida, South Florida, has this variety, told me a little bit about it, and they are really tiny mangoes. What's supposed to be in the same type of class as like an Indian mango, like Alfonso. And so I've had Alfonso, which I absolutely love that mango, so I have high hopes for this. And this tree has done a lot better than any of my grafted varieties, so I'm hoping the fruit's good. Behind it, let me go around to the other side here. Alright, so I'm on the back side now. So again, there is my Itamaraca mango. Here is my kit mango. You can see kind of some of the sunburn. I did cut a lot of these top branches. I'm trying to encourage more top growth on these grafted trees, because you can see how they just like to weep like this. So I've cut some of the stronger upright limbs to encourage more top growth. This kit has not grown at all so far this year, but it does have fruit on it. 5 mangoes. And again, this is from 2016. The Gary was planted a year later in 2017, so it's a little bit younger, and you can see how I'm trying to get some of these upright branches again. But most of the growth is all hanging down here. And you can see some of the mangoes there. I have not had this variety yet. I've heard it has a slight taste of coconut to it, so I'm excited to try this one this year for the first time. The first 2 years I just let it focus on growth and cut all the mangoes off. This year I decided to just let it do its thing. And lastly, my third can is still seedling. This is the bigger of the two that are in the ground. You can see a little bit of sun scorch on it, but still pushing through, pushing out new growth and doing well. Alright, check me out at gardenofluma.com for more tips on gardening and growing fruit trees, especially in hot, dry climates. Thanks for watching.